Hello there, boys and boyettes. So I've been watching The Mandalorian Season 3, and honestly, I've been really liking it. But I've got this fan theory kicking around, and I just felt that the people need to know that the Mandalorians are morons.
I swear on my name and the names of the ancestors that I shall walk the way of the Mandalore, and the words of the creed shall be forever forged in my heart.
Now, I'm not talking about the planet Mandalore, and I'm not talking about Jango Fett or Death Watch or even really Din Djarin. I'm talking about the cult that Din Djarin subscribes to. I first got this impression that they weren't very smart when they were having that ritual on the beach and the giant crocodile monster attacked them, and then ate one of them. And then it only didn't eat more of them because Mando showed up with air support. And I thought, wow, this is a really dangerous site for a ritual. I wonder if they're going to do Grogu's somewhere else now. Then, the next time we see the Mandalorians together, they're practicing on the very same beach. And I'm sitting there sweating bullets like, wow, everyone's standing real close to that water. Maybe they should have somebody on lookout, flying above or something. I don't know, that last one just seemed to really sneak up on them, despite the fact that they were all facing the water's edge. Also, a side note, in this scene, they're just shooting empty water. It just doesn't seem like very effective target practice when they just aim down their sights, fire, and then go, yep, I definitely hit that lake. They're also throwing a couple, presumably expensive rockets in there, just for good measure. Anyway, so then a giant raptorial monster swoops down and steals a kid. The Mandalorians proceed to chase it on jetpacks until their fuel runs out, and the big one goes, dang, they always get away. At first, I was thinking, clearly, he must not mean it always gets away with a victim. Just that they see it, and when they hunt it, the thing outlasts them in the air. But no, he confirms later that the thing has killed several Mandalorians now, and we see their armor in its nest. Let's just unpack this situation just a little more. This horrible raptorial creature has killed at least two, probably more, of their people, presumably while they were practicing on the Death Beach, and they're still practicing on the Death Beach. You know, a single fatality to random wildlife is one thing, a freak accident even. But there's not that many Mandalorians left, and they've lost at least 3 people now because they refuse to practice anywhere that isn't this absolutely cursed beach. And as I understand it, this isn't like a beach of religious significance, it's just some beach. With just an ounce of critical thinking, you'll realize very quickly that they had so many options that weren't this. They could have built a shelter for practicing, maybe dug out a room in the cave, or maybe they could even use the forge room for sparring, because it seems like Forge Lady has plenty of space. Or they could even just find a more closed-off piece of canyon where there wasn't a huge crocodile concealing body of water and convenient aerial access for wyvern attacks. Presumably, they're doing all this training because they're very concerned about safety and self-defense, but they refuse to take even the most simple of safety precautions to avoid their people being eaten by monsters. Also, the solution to chase down the wyvern with a ship seems fairly obvious, so I'll be very generous, kind of steelman these Mandalorians, and say the reason they keep chasing with jetpacks, several abductions in, is because they probably don't have a ship. Moving on. We have this clip here where Bo-Katan wants to talk about the Mythosaur with the Forge Master, and the Forge Master is supremely unhelpful. She does this thing that stupid people do, where they only talk in shoehorn cliches for no apparent reason. Bo says, I want a Mythosaur pauldron, and after some time she continues, what would you say if I saw one? A what? A Mythosaur. I saw one. That's a noble vision. No, I mean I saw a real one. You'll see many things when you walk the path of Mandalore. No, I mean I saw one in the flesh, and I want to talk to you about it. This is the way. This scene can really be interpreted one of two ways. Either she doesn't believe Bo, and she's just kind of brushing her off like an asshole, or she does believe Bo, and she's simply exhibiting the kind of curiosity that leads one to continue bringing children onto the same monster-infested beach, several fatalities in a row. My cult leader told me giant birds keep eating her Mandalorians, so I asked how many Mandalorians she has, and she says she just goes to the orphanage and gets a newfoundling afterwards. So I said, it sounds like she's just feeding Mandalorians to giant birds, and then Grogu started crying. Finally, one last example of their critical thinking skills coming up short was that they've spent 20 years assuming that their home planet was too poisonous to return to, when Mando shows us in Episode 2 that the task of checking was negligibly easy. All they needed was a ship and a droid, and failing that, they could have hired someone. But they must not be able to afford to hire someone or buy a ship, because they're spending all their money on ammo and explosives that they're throwing into a river, presumably to prepare for bounty hunting missions that they can't do because they don't have a ship. You might be wondering, how is this a fan theory? I'm just describing idiots. Some people may chalk this up to weak writing or an ill-thought-out world. That, in-universe, the Mandalorians are not really supposed to be morons. But I know my boy, Davey F. He wouldn't do that to us. He's the guy who confirmed to us that Jar Jar fucks. He wouldn't fall down on something like this, something so important. I would propose that it's at least a little bit intentional to signal to us, the audience, that the Mandalorians need to change. They're also doing a really cool thing this season where preventable bad things keep happening when they recite the creed. And actually, poor critical thinking skills are very consistent with a hyper-traditionalist cult. And I think now we can all imagine why they're a dwindling culture. But that's just a theory. A film theory! Hi, Wesley from the future here. So I was a little bit slow on getting this video out. So wouldn't you know it, episode 5, The Mandalorians adapt a little bit. Anyway, if you liked that video, consider bathing in the living subscribe button, apostate. For returning people, I've got a more ambitious video in the works, and until then, stay bumpin'. I'm sure one of these weeks I'll think of a less wretched sign-off.